Welcome to episode 2 of Soul Surgery. Today we're going to do something that's very out of the ordinary, even for therapists. This is a treatment for trauma, and it's called eye movement integration, EMI. It's what I call the sister method to the standard treatment in therapy that was first developed was EMDR. Eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. 23 years ago, I went for training in Northern Virginia for this sister method because it is phenomenally and astonishingly effective for people with trauma. I am going to apply this method with John now. I'm going to explain. John doesn't know anything about this. I'm going to explain just like I do with all of my patients right from the beginning. So we are going to do what I do with all of my patients, and that is an explanation about how this technique got discovered. It was actually accidental, or what I call serendipity. This goes back at least a half century. There was a woman therapist counseling a woman client, and the client had been horribly abused even from a young age as a little girl. And when she started talking about her experiences as a little girl, she had what we call in psychology an abreaction. She dissociated. It was as if she was being abused right then and there in the room. She decompensated, what we call in therapy, decompensating, saying, no, get off me, don't touch me like that. No, it's like, now the job of the therapist is to help her calm down and get back into the present. The therapist put her hand on her shoulder. That didn't work, and talked gently to her. She said, Joan, look at the artwork and describe the artwork in my room. Nothing that the therapist did got her out of the abreaction. The therapist started to get worried. Well, all of a sudden, the client's eyes started to dart around the room. And the therapist was thinking, what is going on here? And as her eyes darted around the room, she calmed down. And she came out of it. That led to a series of discoveries with the advancements in brain science and studies, brain scans. And it led to a series of discoveries that then led to EMDR, based on the brain science that the movement of the eyes activates different parts of the brain. Now, the reason why that's so important is because they also discovered, mostly by working with traumatized combat veterans, is that trauma is lodged in a certain part of the brain. Okay, let me show you, and I apologize, I'm no artist. This is a human brain, and as we know, it has two hemispheres, and I'm going to tell you about what they discovered we're doing individual work with traumatized combat veterans. When they had them talk about their horrific experiences, they did a brain scan, and they were astonished to see that this small part of the brain, there's one on each hemisphere. They came to call it the amygdala because it's a Greek word for almond, because it's shaped like an almond. So I'm going to write amygdala here. And let me show you this, John, because later I'm going to come back to this, the amygdala. The amygdala lit up. What does that mean? That mean, and the rest of the brain, which was usually very active, went silent, almost silent. And they were astonished. But from that astonishment came the application of the movement of the eyes, because it activates different parts of the brain. So I'm going to come back to amygdala. They came up with this saying that when a person who was traumatized, when they were triggered back into memories of the trauma, they were amygdala hijacked. And I'm going to give you an example. So it's July 2nd, 2 days before Independence Day in America. Traumatized combat veteran who was in Afghanistan for 3 tours is walking in Old Town Winchester, and he hears this loud noise, and he ducks for cover. Okay, now in his frontal lobe of his brain, he knows, I'm not in Afghanistan anymore. I'm in Winchester, Virginia. But when you're traumatized, the trigger goes right to activating the amygdala. That's why they call it being amygdala hijacked. He ducked for cover at the sound of a firecracker. Okay, so that's the brain science behind it, in terms of what trauma is and how it operates in the brain. Now we're going to move to the really good stuff, the cure. As I said in the beginning, there's 2 methods, EMDR and EMI. I'm trained in EMI, and now we're going to get ready to do it with you, okay? So there's 3 components to EMI. One is called an anchor statement. I'm going to write that down. And it's very boilerplate, but I'm going to ask you to fill in the blanks. Let me tell you what the boilerplate is and give you an example of how I might answer it, and then you can come up with what you want. It's blank helps me to feel blank and blank. So it's an anchoring statement. That means it anchors you in the opposite of your trauma: calm, safety, confidence. If I were doing it at this point in my life, I would say, the love of my good friends helps me to feel safe and secure. Mm-hmm. Now, I've had people say to me, my faith in God helps me to feel. My dog helps me to feel. The love of my spouse helps me to feel. So, who or what in your life helps you to feel the opposite of the way this trauma with the guy on the bicycle, which we're going to talk about in a minute?
Mm-hmm. There are many things, Fred, but one that occurs to me at the moment is being in the mountains and skiing. Makes me feel very calm.
Oh, very good. That's excellent.
Where I have vision of mountains and sky.
Okay, I'm going to quote you. Being in the mountains and skiing. That's what you said. That's excellent, actually, because I went skiing with you in Utah, where I broke my arm.
Where you broke your arm, yeah.
Being in the mountains and skiing helps me feel calm, and one more adjective.
I feel centered.
Calm and centered. Mm-hmm. Excellent. So that's component number one. Component number two is eye movement. Now, I'm going to demonstrate to you what isn't and what is eye movement. Watch my head. Watch my head, not my eyes.
Okay.
This is not eye movement. This is like watching a tennis match when you watch the ball go back and forth. Mm-hmm. So it's a difficult thing to do for some people, but I'm going to ask you when the time comes to look straight ahead and watch the tips of my two fingers. Now watch my eyes. Watch my eyes. This is eye movement. Notice my head is perfectly still. I'm going to be doing horizontal movements, vertical movements, and circular movements in 3 different steps, okay? So I'm going to ask you to try to keep your head still. And as we go through the technique, don't worry about it. If you start moving your head, I will remind you to try to keep it still. Okay. And the third component is the most complex. When the time comes, in a few minutes, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes and picture yourself in a small auditorium with a screen, almost like you're in a movie theater, but it's a small auditorium. And I have reasons for that, which I don't need to go into. Picture in your mind's eye, using your imagination, what you saw. Now, you had an experience.
Yes, I was bicycling over in West Virginia on the C&O Canal, and I came across a person who had made a crash on his bicycle into one of the canals.
Okay.
And died there.
He died?
Yeah. That's
traumatizing, even though you may not have symptoms of PTSD. It certainly isn't a pleasant memory.
No.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to ask you, in a minute, in a very short while, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes, picture yourself in a small auditorium, and you're watching almost like you're watching a movie. You're watching that man on the bicycle and all your memories of what you saw about what happened to him. Okay, when the time comes?
Okay.
So that is picturing in your mind's eye the traumatizing event. Okay, let's get started. I am going to ask you to put that in your lap.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask you to say twice out loud your anchor statement. Please.
Being in the mountains and skiing helps me feel calm and centered. Being in the mountains and skiing helps me feel calm and centered.
Very good. You can put that on the side. We're going to come back to it later. But now I am going to go quiet and allow you time to go into your visual memory of that man on the bicycle and get whatever you can get in terms of the visual, any sounds that you remember, any feelings that you remember, feelings of fear, whatever. And I'm going to give you time to do that. And we can hold on one second. We can have you open your eyes either by you saying, Fred, I've got a clear picture of it. Or if you're going for a long period of time, I might check in with you and ask, how are you doing? So close your eyes, please. And as I instructed, you're sitting in a small auditorium and you're picturing what happened. Are you able to get a visual on it?
Yes.
Okay, do you want some more time, or you ready to work on it?
I think I'm probably ready now.
Okay, please open your eyes. Please say your anchor twice out loud. You can just get the...
Yeah. Being in the mountains and skiing calms me and keeps me centered. Skiing in the mountains keeps me calm and centered.
Okay, now we're going to do our first round of eye movement, and you're perfectly positioned as I instructed before. Your head, try to keep it still, and with your eyes, look at the tips of my 2 fingers, okay? And I'm just going to do this for 1, 2, 3 more seconds. Okay, please say your anchor once out loud.
I feel calm and centered whenever I'm skiing in the mountains.
Okay, now the next phase is called revisiting the scene. Now we've done the eye movement. Your brain has been activated. Close your eyes, please. Revisit the scene and try to picture the same thing, but pay attention to what changes, because something always changes. It could go from color to black and white. It can be fuzzy. It can look the same, and your feelings have changed. You take your time and tell me what has changed.
Now I don't seem to be able to see the bicycle that was kind of tangled and mangled up.
Okay, please open your eyes and say your anchor out loud once.
What centers me is skiing in the mountains, and I feel very calm when I do that.
Excellent. Okay, we're going to do one more round of eye movement. I'm going to skip the vertical. First, I'm going to go in one direction. Okay, try not to bounce your eyes. Follow my tips of my fingers. That's it. Good job, John. I'm going to speed up a little. Am I making you dizzy or anything?
I'm okay.
You're okay? All right. I'm going to go in the other direction now. And I'm going to go slowly so you can follow. Okay, keep your head still. That's it. Good job. And then one more time in the other direction. And all we need to do is 1, 2, 3 more seconds, and we're done. Very good. Okay, now, I didn't tell you this, but I have an ace up my sleeve. The last part of this technique entails you closing your eyes, picturing on a screen, and creating what we call a synthetic memory. Now, what does that mean? Synthetic, as we know, means it's made up, like synthetic things they make clothing with. This is only limited by your imagination, and do not underestimate the power of imagination for healing. Okay, it's extraordinary. So whatever you choose to do, let me give you some examples of what I've heard over the 23 years I've been doing this. And I'm going to focus now, because it's so instructive, on all the women and even men I've worked with who suffered sexual abuse in childhood. But let me focus on women. 2 or 3 examples. One woman said when she did her synthetic memory, and then I asked her, do you want to share it with me? You don't have to, but it is good to share it. I said, what did you imagine? She said, my favorite superhero when I was growing up was Superman. So I pictured Superman, just as my uncle was about to molest me, I pictured Superman crashing through the window and beating him to a pulp, and he never touched me. I had another one say, my father came home from work early and unexpectedly, and the babysitter, this older girl, was wanting to do sexual things to me, and my father caught her, and it turned out she got in trouble because she had been doing that to other people she babysat for. I had one woman say, this is my favorite. I had one woman say, I pictured myself going from a 5-year-old helpless girl to being a full-grown adult, and I beat the ever-loving you-know-what out of them. Okay, now, okay, so in your case, it's different. It doesn't have anything to do with sexual abuse, but I wanted to make the point. Use your imagination and picture something that you can return to, because later when I instruct you about your homework, this is going to come into play. Picture the guy being rescued. Picture the guy's brakes working. But I'm going to leave that up to you. Okay? Do you understand the instructions?
Yeah, I think I do. Yeah.
Okay. Close your eyes and create a synthetic memory. Okay. You want to share?
Yeah, I think what I created was that this person on the bicycle was able to brake enough to just fall over into the canal and only like break a leg or something.
Okay. Whereas I don't know if we told our audience, but whereas in real life, this guy died.
He died. Yeah.
Okay. So that's what you pictured. The brakes worked enough that he
just fell in,
and then survived.
Survived.
Very good. Good job. Okay. I'm just going to grab this, and the last segment of our session is going to be about your homework. Okay. Now, as you go forward and you go home to Brenda, you have 3 extra things in your toolbox to deal with not only this memory, but if you have periods of high anxiety about anything, finances, you had a fight with your wife, whatever. You can apply 3 different tools based on what we just did. One is your anchor statement. I'm going to give you this to take home.
Okay.
You repeat let's say you're in a period of high anxiety, but you're having company. Well, you just dismiss yourself, go in the bathroom, and say your anchor over and over again. Being in the mountains and skiing helps me calm and centered. You're going to have this piece of paper. The second thing is, as long as you have even just one arm, you can use eye movement. Same scenario. You're feeling anxious and your heart is beating rapidly. If you're alone, you can do it. Or if you're with company, you can just dismiss yourself. Now I use my 2 fingers. I've always done it that way. You can use an object, a pen. You can use your fist. There are times, and I'm pointing because right out here is my front porch and I go out there a lot. There have been times when I've been feeling anxious and I don't even use an object. I just go like this. And I calm down. You don't even need an object. So eye movement.
Yeah.
And the home run hitter is you get anxious, close your eyes, and picture your synthetic memory. That's number 3. And last but not least, I'm going to be checking up and checking in with you in the weeks to come and say, how are you doing? Did our technique help you? Do you have any residual work you want to do? We can do it a second time. But over 23 years, most of the time it's been a one-off. But I'll check in with you and see, if it has done the trick. Okay?
Way to go, Fred.
All right.
Thank you.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is an example of soul surgery. Thank you for watching.